Hi there. Good morning. 3 minutes left to the morning here in Anchorage, Alaska, where it continues to rain and the temperatures are in the 40s, which is certainly not January weather. Pensacola, Florida is having January weather and we're having Florida weather. So we are definitely going through some very interesting times as it relates to the weather. I think in all the years that I've lived here, I've never seen 40-degree weather and rain as many days in a row as I have been witnessing. So it's really quite remarkable. I wanted to come on today and connect with you because I got a lot on my heart, and I know you do too. And I just find it very helpful for me and hopefully for you too, when we just have a few minutes to connect and to just talk about some of the things that we're dealing with and the different ways that we can be better prepared. And again, I say it all on my show, the Camille Conte show, which is really deep this week. This inspiration definitely, comes through me and comes from my own personal experience. And I hope always that it's helpful. But I was talking about the analogy of being in the whitewater rapids part of the ride. And before you even get into the raft, you know that you're going to hit the rapids. And a lot of the preparation is for that actual part. And so it requires some basic things before you even get into the raft. It requires, obviously, a life preserver. It requires training and practice, and it requires a guide that knows what they're doing. Hi, Tim. And so when we take that analogy and transfer it over to what we're going through right now with this new administration and the choices that they are making, and the ripple effect that that is having and will continue to have in big ways in our lives, bigger in some people's lives than perhaps in my life or your life. But nonetheless, we're all in the same river and we're all trying to navigate this change. And so when we start with the life jacket, for me, that is anything that we can do personally and collectively to keep us afloat. And in this case, I can only share the things that I do and that I know other people do, that maybe one of these things might be yours to do. So for me, first and foremost, it's my spiritual life. It's my meditation practice. And by meditation, I mean my commitment to be more comfortable each time with the discomfort of sitting still. That's really what meditation is about in the beginning, is being willing to sit in the discomfort of being still. The mind does not like it at all. And this is why meditation can be difficult in the beginning. This is why a lot of people don't do meditation, because perhaps someone hasn't explained that the experience you're having when you first meditate is exactly what it's like. It's uncomfortable. The mind resists. There's a lot of, tension and maybe even pressure because the mind wants out, but your commitment is to sit still. I mean, we are in a time when we are overstimulated. And so when you unhook from the phone, the computer, and the headlines, and give yourself permission to sit still, even if you don't close your eyes. Last night, as many offers as I got to go out to the folk festival, my heart, my soul, my mind, and my nervous system needed me to sit still. And that's what I did. I closed the curtains, I lit a candle, gave thanks that I have a roof over my head, and I just sat still to give myself a chance to assimilate the changes that we're going through personally and collectively. So find the thing that works for you. And meditation is irreplaceable in its benefit. Another thing for me is what I call my prayer life. And for me, my prayer life is conscious and mindful rearrangement of my thought process, rearrangement of my thinking in a way that lines up with how I want to feel. I truly believe, and I know you do too on some level, that we are creative. Our thoughts, our feelings, and our action steps, when lined up, put us in the ultimate creative power position. And these days, I'm all about helping myself and helping anybody who's interested line up with their inner power so that we can move from a place of empowerment and not fear. So when we think about this life jacket, today I want you to think about, what is your life jacket? What are the habits? What are the choices that help keep you afloat? Good eating, staying hydrated. Many of us are doing this dry January. That's actually a really good thing that I'm participating in and will hope to continue in the next months to come, because I think that having a clear head is going to be more beneficial to me than checking out or numbing the discomfort of what we're going through. So think about this from the perspective of, is my life jacket up to date? Is it fully inflated? Do I have it on? And am I acknowledging the habits and choices that keep me afloat? I know for me, I have to stay out of the news because I don't feel like I can affect at that level. I feel like right now I'm being called to affect on a local level, because to me, local is where the power is. I was on Facebook yesterday posting something, and right as I came onto the platform, there was a piece from PBS, and it had one of the gentlemen, one of the police officers, his name is Daniel, I can't think of his last name right now. He was at a podium giving a press conference, and it just made me weep immediately. This young man telling us his story about being crushed by the door. We saw those horrific pictures on January 6th, talking about how a hand was reaching up under his mask to try to gouge his eyes out, and how, in light of that, he was witnessing the president of his country declare those who assaulted him and those who tried to kill him as the patriots and as the victim. And that really set me back, because it tapped me into the greater experience that we're in. And I think for many of us, that greater experience is too big. That classic saying, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. So along with being in the rapids, we got a elephant in the raft. The other part is the training, right? You prepare for an adventure like being in the white waters of a river, whether it's here in Alaska or the Grand Canyon or wherever. So what are your practices? Are you moving your body? Okay, it's been really tough to walk here in Anchorage because every road has been an ice rink. That is changing. Everything is starting to melt because it's been so warm and raining for so many days. But are you moving your body, even if it's in your own home? Are you playing music that raises your frequency, that allows you to dance? I did that last night. I put my headphones on, listened to my own show, the Camille Conte show, was rocking out to the band You Don't Know the Shape I'm In, and Sam and Dave's sweet soul music, and move your body. It helps release, and like a steam, it releases the steam that is building up, because we're not meant for this type of an assault 24/7. That's why I say, if you've not yet learned to put the phone down, to put the computer down, these are good things to begin to do. You're still patriotic, you're still compassionate, you still care, even if you don't watch the news, even if you don't read the news. You're still doing all the right things for you so that you can be the best version of yourself for what is happening right before our very eyes. And then the last thing is the guide. Do we have the right guide? Again, for me, it's taken some time, last 15 years of my dedicated spiritual awakening through spiritual education, classes, lectures, workshops, reading, contemplation. It's taken me time, but I'm there now. I know who my guide is. I know who my source is. We have had a collaborative relationship for some time now. I have asked it for proof because it's an invisible presence, though I can sense and feel it and I can see its action. I've asked it to show me so that I can trust leaning into something I can't see because, in this lifetime, we like to see it. We like to touch it. We like to feel it. We like to see the physical demonstration. That's why we have the word, the definition, and the practice that we call faith. I have faith in the presence that I can't see, but I have plenty of demonstrations that tell me unequivocally it's real. And I don't need anyone to validate that anymore because I'm in partnership with my guide and I follow my intuition because I know where it's coming from. If that's too advanced for you, that's okay. What I would tap you into is how you feel. And this is the example I give all the time. Your feelings are a preview, all right? In the old design model, it was the mind and what you knew. In the new design model, it's about the heart and how we feel. That's why all the time on my show I say, music gives us permission to feel better than the headlines dictate. Anything that gives you permission to feel better is an okay thing to participate in. In fact, it's necessary for the ride. It's necessary if you want to stay in the raft when you hit the rapids. Okay, you need that. You need those straps on the side of you, on each side of you, to hold on to. And this is where our tribe comes in. The people that are like-minded, not from the point of isolation, but from the point of we need to be able to have people in our lives with whom we feel safe, with whom we can be vulnerable, with whom we know that we're loved no matter what. And it's always reflected and mirrored back to us. So these are some of the things that are on my heart today and some of the things that I am actively practicing. In addition to the show, the Camille Conte show, again, I don't know anybody that's doing it quite like I'm doing it. And it's taken some guts for me to say yes to this different way. But basically, I talk like this and I share what I can. And then I play music that either is perfect for the theme or the conversation we're having, but that ultimately is medicine and helps us wash away the tears and set us up again at the center of our being, in that neutral place. Because neutrality is the key and the gift of the present moment. The other thing is I have started the New Design for Living show on KONR radio Mondays at 12 noon. I just started last Monday. And again, I'm nervous because I'm out of my comfort zone. But I know these days we are led more by questions than answers. The mind wants answers. We don't have all the answers. We have some. But it's okay to live in a time when we have more questions than answers, because those very questions signify to us that we have contrast going on. And contrast is very important. It's super helpful to be living in something you don't like so that you can know what you do. It's incredibly helpful to be a citizen in a country whose government is going down a path that is completely contrary to everything you're about, in order for you to know without a shadow of a doubt what you value. What are the principles upon which you are building your life? What do you believe about other people? All of that is happening is information for you and me to be very clear of the design that we are creating in real time, not just for ourselves, but for our partnerships, our family, our coworkers, our community. for humanity. I've never seen what I am seeing now. Social media, it's the yin and the yang, right? It's good and it's bad. But I've been seeing videos from everyday people like you and me who are getting online and saying, oh, hell no. This is our time to stand up, to lock arms, and to protect each other. And perhaps that's not what is yours to do. I know what's mine to do right now, and that's to do this, to get on social media and talk to you, to get behind the mic. I know that's what's mine to do, and now I'm doing it. Going back to local radio, where it started for me, which is just incredible. But I believe in the new design for living. I believe in what I've been shown. I know it's a vision, and I know it's mine to do, and I know it's mine to communicate to you in the way that I am now, the way I do on the Camille Conte show, and the way I'm now going to be doing Mondays at noon. And I got to be honest with you, one of the things that came through me last night as I was in deep contemplation was once a week isn't enough, because the momentum of change is happening so rapidly, and the volume of consequences and impact based on the choices being made is so large that I know something is going to break open 5 days a week for me, because we need that kind of connection every single day. That's the urgency of this moment. The last thing I want to say is on Monday, I'm going to talk about change, chaos, confusion, and uncertainty from the perspective of the old design model and the perspective of the new design model. Because the definition and the way and the program of the old way, when it comes to change, chaos, confusion, and uncertainty, is not serving us anymore. All that does is keep us in fear. And we are unempowered when we're in fear. We are in the victim state, whether we are aware of that or not. When we're in fear, something is happening to us that we don't have any control over. I want to encourage you to breathe and to give yourself permission to realize that you are a creator, that you are endowed with creative power to use for good. And in the new design model, confusion, uncertainty, and chaos are actual building blocks for a new design. For me, I've spent the last 13 months redesigning myself internally, and it's still going on. And in fact, these days, my change internally is picking up speed. It's not comfortable, but I'm in, because for me, this is the only place for me to be. So I'm showing up for it. I'm doing the best I can to be in a human body while I am just being changed dramatically every single day. Perhaps you're going through that as well. In fact, if you want to share, please do. I've got Tim and I've got Bob watching. Thank you so much. So just remember a few things today. Number one, think about it from the perspective of you're in the whitewater rapids part of the ride. Are you well trained and prepared? Do you have your life jacket and you know what those things are that keep you afloat? Have you connected with your inner guide? And if not, no judgment, just begin the process. You can start small, parking spaces, or, you think of someone and they call. It's always giving us signs that it's active. People say, I heard voices in my head. You better believe it. All the time. And there's nothing crazy about that. I think it's more crazy not to hear the voice. And it's not always still and small. Sometimes these days it's very big and very loud. It's like, okay, I hear you, right? Because it knows it can use me in this way. The other thing is when change is imposed upon us. We are in a time when change is being imposed upon us. I think the last time it was like this was during COVID, when the change of the lockdown was imposed upon us, and the damage that did. Hold on, that's my microphone here, about to fall. And the damage that did to us in many, many ways. So when change is imposed upon us like it is now, we have to use this opportunity to be mindful of what we can do with that. So the first thing I would suggest that you do with that is not react. And that's hard because the mind is immediately there to do that. But if you take breaths, if you step back into the last row and observe how you're being when this happens, that distance between you watching and you being is the gap where change can start. Small steps maybe, or maybe you're having mystical epiphanies as well. There's plenty of things happening to activate that level of awakening right now, because that's how important it is for us to wake up to our inherent power, to not only decide what we're going to think, to have dominion over how we're going to feel, and to be in charge of our action steps. So those three things line up. But we also have the power to decide how we're going to respond and react. Now, yesterday when I saw that gentleman, I was unprepared for it. And it just burst my heart right open. It was instantaneous. I mean, how could you look at that and not start weeping? It was just so. Neutrality. Here's the last thing I'm going to say. Remaining neutral is a practice. You've got the swing, right? So the swing goes bad, it goes good, it goes right, it goes left, right? The extremes of the pendulum. But it's the resting place that has the real power. And I want to encourage you to practice neutrality, because we got to pace ourselves for what's going down right now. We have an administration that is imposing change by eliminating the infrastructure of that which has governed us and created the parameters by which we live. This is big stuff. We already know what it feels like when that happens to us personally. But to have that happening intentionally, with momentum, with 100 massive changes, it's like, how do you even deal with it? And here's how. You step back. You realize that your nervous system needs a break. You tell yourself, okay, I need a moment. You try to find the place where your personal pendulum rests. And you give yourself permission to feel what you feel like when you are in that place where your swinging rests. And once you have a sense of how you feel when you're in a place of neutrality, then you can go back to that at will. You see, the old design model says neutrality means you're not loyal, you're not for the team, you're selfish, you're unpatriotic, but that's the old design model. In the new design model, we value the gift of neutrality because we know that when we are in a neutral state, while it hits the fan, we have access to the clearest thinking, the most open heart, and the open channel for us to receive information from the one that knows. I always say this because it's true. Something knew the rose. Then it packed it into a bud, packed the bud into a seed, became the soil, and the invisible law that cracks open that seed. Why? Why not just have the rose as a bloomed thing always? Because it's here to experience the sheer joy of the emerging self. And so this is what's on my heart today, and I hope that it's helpful. I wasn't going to add this to the mix, but I decided I'm going to because it's all connected. I have the show, the Camille Conte Show. I've been doing it for 13 years, and right now I have my 13th annual fundraiser because I'm an independent creator and I don't get paid. I'm part of that new design model where patrons pay for their entertainment, right? It's just the way it is. Netflix, Amazon, whatever. We pay for our entertainment. And so I do this every year as a way to give my listeners a chance to up-level their relationship to the show because it's so unique. And it's all going on to the end of the month. And so I have these really beautiful journals. And, the mind says, oh, what's the big deal, a journal? But here's why it's a big deal. Because these three words are everything right now. If you're looking out at the world of effects, you're seeing something that's collapsing. by intention and by the weight of its outdatedness. And so we need to understand what are the elements for creation right now. Because the worst thing we could do is be in a victim stance. That's why I said on my show, if there was ever a time to burn your victim card, it's now. So imagine, dream, and believe. What are you imagining? Are you imagining the worst case scenario? Yesterday I was. I got caught up in it. And it's okay, I'm a human being. But it sidelined me emotionally. I was very sad. I was very concerned. And yeah, I was a little scared about what's happening. However, because I have a vision and I have action steps and I know what I'm doing in response to what I'm seeing, that's all I can do is be all in with what's mine to do. And right now, I can't think of a better place for all of us to put our attention than on our inner world and our local community. And why is that important to imagine? Because imagination is a gift. What are you imagining? Are you imagining the best or the worst? I grew up in an environment where we always imagined the worst as a means to prepare for it. That was good then because it was a survival tactic. Today, I'm here to imagine the best. I'm here to imagine the opposite of what everything tells me to imagine. From that place of imagining, I can sit, I can see the images in my mind. I can begin to dream of a better turnout. I can begin to dream, even though I may not understand how it's going to happen, of a better outcome for my brothers and sisters who are being rounded up right now. All right, there's a lot going on. And then ultimately to believe, to turn away from the appearances and to believe that the appearance is the last place of creation. The headline is the last place. That's why I don't read headlines. What am I going to do with it? It's already done. I can't do anything with something that's already done. I want to hang out in cause. I want to go all the way back to the seed. I want to make sure that the soil that the seed is in is properly cared for and has all the proper nutrients so that that seed can have the best possible outcome. This is the kind of way that I am thinking. And so this journal, Imagine, Dream, and Believe, is not only available to those who participate in my fundraiser, but you can get it right now at my store over at CamilleConte.com. And here's what it says on the inside. A dream is the gift the soul gives us. Imagination is the gift Creator gives us. And belief is the gift we give ourselves. So I know that my heart isn't the only heart that's super tender right now. And I'm actually working today and in between what I do. And I wanted to just jump on and share with you. So I'm open to your comments and thoughts. Thank you for listening to the show because it's medicine for the soul. I'll put reminders up about my show on Monday and hopefully we will activate the local community back to local radio. You know, I saw what happened in LA. I saw what happened in Nashville. And you know what I saw? The importance of local news reporters, local radio with local people in the seat behind the microphone. We need local news. We need local radio. I mean, who could imagine I'm alive in a time when there's some law about whether or not we should even keep AM radio in the cars? And yet the young couple in Nashville that I saw, what did they do? They sat in their car for hours listening to the radio, hoping to hear some news about what was happening. Oh, I love you. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. I know there's a lot getting our attention these days. I hope in some way this helped. And again, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments about what I'm talking about and share with me where you're at with your life preserver, with your guide, with the ways that you have prepared yourself and are preparing yourself right now for the whitewater rapids that we have just now entered. Pace yourself. Pace yourself. All right. Thanks for tuning in. So much love.